Again, when we last left off, I told you I'd show you guys the installation of the camshaft. I've gone ahead and lubricated all the bearing surfaces on the camshaft. The bearing surfaces being the parts where the camshaft is going to be rotating and coming into metal-to-metal contact. And the camshaft lobes. The camshaft lobes, like I stated once before, and I've probably overstated, are the parts where the camshaft makes direct contact with these parts right here, these little circular parts right here called the lifters. And as the camshaft rotates, it's the lobe of the camshaft, the pointed part, that pushes down the valve lifter, directly resulting in the valve opening and closing. So once again, go ahead and, oh, by the way, guys, you've got to make certain you soak these lifters in oil before you reinstall them. All right, anyway, go ahead and lube up your camshaft and reinstall it into place at top dead center. Now you're probably asking, how do you know what top dead center is? Well, it kind of goes back to just knowing what top dead center is. And what top dead center is, it's pretty much when the number one cylinder has both the intake and exhaust valves closed. And in a situation like this, being the Geo Metro, that's going to be when both lobes are not engaging with the lifters. So it's not rocket science. It's all about just knowing the general function of an engine. And once you know the general function of an engine, it all just seems like common sense. Or should I say common knowledge? It takes away the mystery of it all. There we go. That'll be top dead center. And the Geo Metro has 3 caps. The caps being, oh, I just dropped one of the bolts. Gotta go ahead and clean that off, because when you're rebuilding an engine, it's best you abstain from any dust getting into the sensitive parts of the motor here. So I just wiped that off. Okay, so it's got 3 caps, one cap going on the thermostat part, another cap going in the middle, and once again the caps is what holds down the camshaft. Another cap going on the timing gear side. And the final cap is going to fit in the middle. Now you've got it. These are the bearing surfaces, by the way. Look, I dropped another one. Let me wipe this one off. These are the bearing surfaces right here. Well, one of the bearing surfaces. The caps have bearing surfaces, and this is one of the parts that I went ahead and lubricated on the camshaft. So you want to make sure, once again, the bearing surfaces are lubricated and the camshaft lobes are lubricated. Alrighty, so go ahead and put that into place. And there's also arrows here on the caps that show you what direction it's pointing in. So it's almost impossible to do this incorrectly if you just take your time and you pay attention. I've got a wooden handle here that I'm going to use to tap the caps into place. And I want to tap them into place because they have these dowels. They have these dowels on them to help you line it up properly. Again, this engine wants to be installed correctly. It's important to use the wooden part because if you don't, you can damage the cap surfaces. Okay. Okay, I've got the dowels lined up. I'll go ahead and drive these screws in. Turn this around so you can get a better view of what I'm doing here. Just want to drive them in. Now, these bolts need to be torqued to 97 inch-pounds. So I'm only going to go ahead and drive them in so it's snug. I've got a torque wrench to make certain that I have the right amount of pressure on the bolt. So, again, for now, I'm just pretty much driving it in so that the dowels are lined up. And once I get the dowels lined up, I'll go ahead and draw it back. And I'm going to draw the bolts back because, again, I'm only doing this to line the dowels up. So I'm drawing the bolts back so I can go back in and make certain that it's torqued correctly. Now, 97 inch-pounds, not foot-pounds, is not a lot of pressure. And it's extremely important that you get the torque specs correctly because that's what defines your oil clearances. And if you over-torque it, what's going to happen is the oil will not have enough clearance to pass through between the caps and the bearing surfaces. And if the oil does not have enough space to pass through, what's going to happen is you'll have a situation called oil starvation, and you're pretty much going to start to have metal-to-metal contact, which, again, you don't want. Metal-to-metal contact is the enemy of the internal combustion engine, and they're all precision engineered to prevent that from happening. So I can't overemphasize how important that is. Okay, here's my torque wrench, and I've got it preset to 97 inch-pounds. So I'll go ahead and torque it to that. I'm not sure if you can hear it, but this is a click type torque wrench. This is actually a pretty expensive torque wrench. This is a Matco torque wrench. I went to the auto parts store and bought a $20 torque wrench, and it actually doesn't go down to 97 foot-pounds. So I had to splurge and get something a little more expensive. All right, so that's torque down, and that's pretty much how it's going to look. All right, that's pretty much it for this video. My next step is going to be to pretty much prep the cylinder head, clean the cylinder head, and install the gasket and mount this baby on the actual engine block. So I'll tune you guys in once that step comes. Thanks, guys. Until next time. Bye.